Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. Once again, this is the best college podcast, still empowering minds one episode at a time. I'm still your host, Professor Chris, and the author of Getting the Most Out of Your College Experience. Today's topic is going to be a tough one. So let's get right to it. This is also another edition of Real Cases, Real Students, Real Cases. Our topic today has to do with on-campus shooting. Even though this one caught my attention because it is claimed as a terrorist attack, but it happened on campus, so very close to home, so I kind of want to touch on this topic very quickly. All right, so let's go right to the news. The most recent and widely reported terrorism-related incident involving U.S. college students and a campus occurred at Old Dominion University, ODU, in Norfolk, Virginia, on March 12, 2026. Multiple major news outlets and federal authorities classify it as a terrorist attack. A gunman entered Constant Hall, an academic building at Old Dominion University, and asked whether the classroom was an ROTC class. After receiving confirmation, he opened fire, killing the instructor and injuring others. Students, specifically ROTC cadets, subdued the attacker, ending the threat. So again, the only reason I wanted to address this here, because so far as terrorist attacks and terrorism goes, there's so much going on right now, and I don't want to get into the whole political aspect of the situation, but since this happened to be on a college campus, and again, I'm not going to talk about, I don't want to get into too much in detail, identifying the shooter and all that. My focus always and will continue to be the students. Since this happened on campus, I just kind of wanted to deal it from that angle. How do we protect ourselves on campus with this? So here's the truth. Once again, it is an on-campus shooting. Correct. Once again, it is gun violence, which probably nothing will be done so far as that goes in terms of protocols. So let's leave that as that. This here, however, is a little different. And the reason I say this here is a little different because you could go back to my past episodes. I've already done on-campus shooting. I've had guests here. We've talked about it. I've had police officers. You could go back and look at that. We've gone through 10 different steps, the causes and the effects. You know, what causes one to come on campus for shooting. The reason I said this here is different because this terrorist attack happens to be right here, and here's a simple truth. We are at war. Yes, we are at war. So I really don't have much to give, but I'm gonna do my best to see how I can address this here for you students on campus to safeguard yourself and protect yourself in this current environment that we're living in, and I need everyone to be aware that we are at war and probably a little bit understanding of what is happening, right? There's so much going on in the Middle East, and you all probably need to do a little bit of geography to understand what is happening there. There isn't much that you and I here could do about that situation, right? Besides maybe voicing our opinion, maybe this channel like this, trying to share some light on what is going on. We can't do anything to stop that. That's out of our control. However, what we could do is understand what is happening, and with the current situation, to realize that there are a lot of people from the Middle East. You probably know someone from the Middle East, whether Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, you name it, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Somebody, you at least know one person from the Middle East that is affected by what is currently going on. So, the reason I say this a little different is because people that live amongst us, our neighbors, our friends, probably have relatives in the Middle East that have been affected by what is happening. They're probably waking up in the morning with a phone call, or probably 2 in the morning getting phone calls about a family member getting killed somewhere there. And these are the people around us. On college campuses, we still have a lot of internationals, or maybe not just internationals, but we have people from or who have very good ties to the Middle East. They have families there. So the only thing we could do currently is to be very, very sensitive, very, very respectful to those people. Now you might see a friend, a student come to class, very sad. I would not necessarily go to upset in terms of threat. But people are currently very, very sad, and what we could do is try our best, at the very minimum, not to voice our opinions or what we think about what is currently going on, because we don't want to escalate any or cause anyone or push anyone, right, to get to the point where they feel like, or we feel like now it's a threat. If we go back to the top 10 reasons or motivations why we have on-campus shooting, and I'm only going to touch on the very first one. The very, very first one, and I'm going to read this so you understand, because this is the only one I want to focus on today, because this is also the one that pertains to what is currently happening and how we can once again safeguard ourselves. Okay, so here it is. The very first motive for on-campus shooting, number one, is personal grievances and perceived injustice. Personal grievances and perceived injustice. Many perpetrators express deep-rooted personal grievances often framed around perceived mistreatment, academic failure, rejection, or interpersonal conflict. Long-term research analyzing 55 years of shooter statements shows that grievances are classifiable and often tied to a shooter's internal narrative of injustice. So back to you again. This is more serious than class failure. Not that it's not important, not that it's not going to cause grievances, but the injustice. Because our friends, again, our neighbors, the people in our surroundings who probably have ties and families in the Middle East, this is probably how they feel. Maybe not even probably, this is how they feel. It's the injustice. So they're grieving. All I want to say to that is we need to be very, very careful as to what we say, how we say it. Be sensitive to our environment and how what we say can affect those within us. We don't want to push anyone beyond what is currently happening or beyond their grief that it becomes a threat. That is all I have to say, and I'm going to close this out very quickly. Solution? Pray. Pray. With what is currently happening, again, just be aware of your environment, be very sensitive to your surroundings, and continue to pray. Stay tuned for the next episode of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. I will be discussing real cases, real students. If it has to do with the campus, it has to do with the college, I will speak on it. And I'll do my best to provide any advice, suggestions that I have. So once again, my BA to you, balance. Eat well, exercise, rest and relax. And I probably have to add this once again, pray. Please pray. This is the book that I wished I had before going to college. And it's also the book I hope I had while I was in college. Get a copy of Getting the Most Out of Your College Experience now. You can get it online at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, iTunes, and Google Play. If you want a signed copy, you can go to my website at www.letustalked.com. Get your copy and let's continue to talk ed. Thank you.